Hi all. Today on this channel we're going to be looking at the founder of Mormonism's grand vision for the future of his country, the United States. Joseph Smith Jr. He was born in upstate New York and early 19th century, forget the exact date. He was upstate New York and where he was living at the time. I'm not sure if he was born there, but it was Palmyra, New York. He, as a 14-year-old, was fond of treasure hunting, but one day he uncovered the lost golden plates of Captain Moroni of an ancient tribe of the lost Israelites who settled in America and went on to become the Native Americans. Or so this is what Joseph Smith and his wealthy patron friend Benjamin Harris claimed about their find. Now, Joseph was incredibly charismatic. He claimed to have several visions of Jesus Christ and God the Father, Elohim, Jehovah, Yahweh, and in the Palmyra forest, where the plates were uncovered and the instructions to him were given to translate the Proto-Egyptian script on the plates. By doing so, he had to use the seer stone. It wasn't magical, at least it's not claimed to have been a magical stone, how the modern Church of Latter-day Saints describes the story. But back in the day of early 19th century treasure hunting, there were lots of special stones that were believed to have similar powers. Now, Joseph matured into a leader of a congregant whom he called the Latter-day Saints, and he had his religious text published, including his commentary, The Pearl of Great Price. So Smith's grandiose vision or thinking was more than a projection for his small band of followers. His plan for the whole country, which he would fill up with cities of Zion in the latter days. I mean, Zion refers to the Old Testament mountain where Moses. That's Sinai. Sorry. Zion is just basically the ancient vision of Israel. And Smith believed that prehistoric North America was home to a lost tribe of Israelites who survived either it was surviving the Tower of Babel or something else. But they went their ways across the Atlantic in canoes, but completely covered canoes, so a reference to Noah's Ark. And it was basically a prehistoric submarine in the way it's written in the Book of Mormon. A nation, he believed that America's future was going to be a nation of cities established on principles of equality and dedicated to unity and righteousness. Godly cities in the best sense where everyone could thrive and worship. He put temples at the center of his cities to exemplify the pursuit of godly intelligence, his great ideal. Now, at the time, there were very few cities in the United States. They were mostly towns. Without a doubt, Joseph Smith and his followers wanted to build a city of their own and establish alliance alliances of cities of Latter-day Saints, and have a revivalist temple for their new form of Christianity at the center of it all. So the Mormons in Utah thought of themselves as fulfilling Joseph Smith's millennial vision. Now, that band that settled in Utah was the faction of post Joseph Smith Mormons that followed Brigham Young, who was also a follower of Joseph Smith but had a different idea to where they should settle. They should not settle, according to Brigham Young, in the defined United States territory at the time. They should settle in what was Mexico at the time, or as they called it themselves, Deseret. So, yeah, the author of this article says, I doubt that he knew in 1831 the Saints would one day head to the Great Basin, the salt flats of Utah. But he was in effect teaching them how to settle in open country, how to organize their communities when they arrived. In fact, his plans for millennial society could be fulfilled only in open country with no preceding towns in place. Whether he knew it or not, he was from the beginning preparing the Saints to be pioneers. So they're describing Joseph Smith's vision of the Latter-day Saint congregants to be pioneers and to not be persecuted by red-blooded Americans who were extremely suspicious of Mormon beliefs and practices. And also the fact that Joseph Smith himself had ties to the Freemasons in his youth. So that's why Joseph Smith had these handshakes early in his days of ministry. So, when the challenges of the Great Basin were thrust upon them, the Mormons were ready from the time of the church's organization. They had been trained to have hope and to build societies. They knew how to build cabins, that's for sure. So, in Deseret, they held on their meager farms. They held on to their meager farms in a forbidding environment because their goals went beyond their own comfort and prosperity. They were building a millennial society as instructed by their prophet, according to the pattern he had foreseen for all of America. In settling the West, they were unfurling Zion's banner for all of humankind to look upon. Joseph Smith not only had the vision for building cities in the undeveloped lands of North America, he wanted to be the prophet king of all of the Western Hemisphere. In his vision, all of the Western Hemisphere would adhere to the principles set by the ancient angel Moroni, who wrote the plates that Joseph supposedly discovered and translated into English into a hat with a stone, and everyone would live according to the original vision of God and Jesus Christ. The question arises, of course, who was to enjoy the brighter day? This author of this article asks. Was Zion for Mormons only? The prophecies of the second coming of Jesus Christ were enmeshed in predictions of calamities, wars, earthquakes, pestilence that would bring ruin on the wicked, as per the book of Revelation in the Bible. Dire warnings had been part of apocalyptic religion from the same time of Ezekiel and Daniel in the Hebrew Bible. Did this imply this American Zion was a refuge for the saints and none other? The Zion ideal promised peace and unity. People were to be of one heart and mind. Did that mean all but right-thinking Mormons were to be excluded? Well, it's certainly known that black people were not allowed to be Mormons or Latter-day Saints. They weren't allowed to be part of the convoy of pioneers that settled in Utah. So if so, Zion in the West was doomed to failure. The Great Basin was a slate on which the Mormons would inscribe their own particular way of organizing society. But it was also part of the wide open spaces. Wide open meant space for the Native Americans who first possessed the land, whom the Mormons believed were the cursed tribe. A cursed tribe of ancient Israelites that settled in the United States, in the prehistoric United States, and drove out the good tribe. Yeah. The true tribes, if I'm not mistaken, were the tribe of Lehi and Nephi. So the Nephites were the evil, dark-skinned tribe. The Lehites were the pure, white-skinned tribe. Yeah. So, and then for anyone else who rode in and settled, and many did come, not just Mormons. There were railroad workers and miners who were largely non-Mormon, and people of many religions and ethnicities. Congregationalists, Presbyterians, Catholics, Jews, Italians, Asians, Greeks, well, I guess if they mean Greeks and Italians, they just mean other Catholics and Orthodox Christians as well. Not many years after the Mormons came, the religion was profoundly multicultural, as were virtually all Western territories. I'm not sure about that, but people of all kinds were looking for a brighter day. There was no way to shut the gates on diverse, polyglot, multi-ethnic multi-ethnic? Not so sure about that at that time. And to preserve the Great Basin for Mormons alone. What preparation had the Mormons for that inevitable fact of Western life? Mormons themselves may have been exclusionary at the beginning of their great social experiment. Well, they didn't allow black people. That's definitely exclusionary. In Jackson County, Missouri, where they believed that the Garden of Eden originally was, at least that's what Joseph Smith believed, they apparently informed their neighbors of their eventual doom as the Lord's people took over. Not the best way to make friends, indeed. But as Joseph Smith's thought matured, he began to see his cities of Zion differently. His thinking reached its peak in Nauvoo, where he eventually met his end. The city he erected on fetid swampland on the banks of the Mississippi, and the one city over which he exercised control and brought to fruition. Joseph thought of Nauvoo as an open city. One of the first acts after the city charter was obtained was to pass a religious tolerance ordinance. So, I guess on the charter it says, "Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Nauvoo that the Catholics, Presbyterians, Methodists, Baptists, Latter-day Saints, Quakers, Episcopalians, Universalists, Unitarians, Mohammedans," interesting, "and all other religious sects and denominations whatever shall have free toleration and equal privileges in the city. I doubt that they would have ever imagined Satanists would become a thing in the 21st century. So, I guess Satanists are excluded from the Nauvoo City Council Charter. And I guess Jews are also excluded from the Nauvoo City Charter as well. Early Nauvoo. The act was remarkable for its time and place in welcoming Catholics and Muslims. Religious groups, were widely disliked in Protestant America. But despite the prevailing prejudices, Joseph opened the city to all. He was an expansive person. He had immense confidence in the capacity for all people to work together. He ran for president in 1844. He spoke out on the contested issues of relations with Canada and Mexico. There were tensions along both borders. Passing over the tangled details of the negotiations, Joseph rose to the level of high principle to declare, "Come Texas, come Mexico, come Canada, and come all the world. Let us be brethren. Let us be one great family. And let there be universal peace." Okay, well, at least he said that. He thought all the outcasts of society could be incorporated into a happy society. By guaranteeing rights to all and welcoming them as brothers and sisters, all could be a part of Zion. "I would, as the universal friend of man, open the prisons, open the eyes, open the ears, and open the hearts of all people to behold and enjoy freedom, unadulterated freedom." Now, Mormons are sometimes accused of being a parochial and clannish people, concerned only after themselves and interested only in making all the world Mormon. This was certainly not the view of their founding prophet. Was it now? He was told, as he told the 12 apostles, his 12 apostles, not the literal 12 apostles of Jesus, the 12 apostles of Joseph Smith. "A man filled with the love of God is not content with blessing his family alone, but ranges through the whole world, anxious to bless the whole human family." Joseph wanted Nauvoo to be a model city for the world to look to, a city that would bless everyone, not just the Latter-day Saints. "That is the pioneer heritage," says this author. "Modern Mormons inherit from their founding prophet to build model cities that will bless the whole world, cities which people of all religions and backgrounds have a part." Do we really comprehend, do we really understand the tremendous significance of that which we have? Here's some fun facts about Joseph Smith, anyhow, just to cap off this video. In his youth, apparently, young Joseph Smith belonged to a local debate club in Palmyra. So I guess one could say he was a charismatic speaker. And it also says he was prone to stage fright, that he would tremble like Belshazzar, the old overlord of ancient Israel. And he liked dogs, Mr. Smith. In fact, Sylvester Smith, I believe his brother, threatened to kill it while on Zion's camp march. Yeah, that long trek out west must have cost a few of the congregants their minds, at the very least. I mean, tough trek in the mud, and you're only surviving on faith before the Lord. 6 arrests in one day. On June 28th, 1830, while traveling to New York, Joseph was arrested by people pretending he owed them money. money. He was brought before a hearing, found innocent, and released. This repeated 6 times throughout the day. Each time the charges were dropped. After the last, Joseph turned and returned to Kirtland. Decoy caskets were used at Joseph and Hiram's funeral after the martyrdom, when he was chased out of a window by an angry mob in Nauvoo, Illinois, and shot. They were filled with sandbags. There was a $1,000 reward for the head of Joseph Smith. Interesting. The decoys were to try and prevent the bodies from being desecrated. The real bodies were buried in secret. So, supposedly nobody knows where Joseph and his brother Hiram were buried and where their final resting place remains to this day. Heber C. Kimball, probably another congregant at the time, said Joseph would encourage people to get something done by saying, "Yankee Doodle do it." That's cute. Also, his wife, Emma Hale Smith, refused to let Joseph in her garden because dozens of people would gather around to be near him, and they would trample all of her plants. And also, while he was being tarred and feathered in Hiram, Ohio, Joseph Smith chipped a tooth, and apparently it caused him to speak with a slight whistle for the rest of his life. Yankee Doodle, do it. I guess I can't whistle like that, but there you go. Fun facts. Alright, that's it for this video. See you in the next one.